Welcome to Countdown to the Semifinals, presented by Wendy's. We are out here getting ready to watch some good college basketball. Christine Williamson and Tarika Foster-Brasby. Now, you guys, well, first, before we get to that, how do you feel? How are we doing that we're out here? We're in Dallas, Texas, in front of the AAC. How you feeling, girlfriend?
I am feeling so good. I'm so excited to be here. The weather is great. I was nervous, but the weather is amazing, and I mean, this is shaping up to be a great event. So how could you not feel dope?
Yeah, Dallas, Texas, definitely a little toasty, a little humid. However, we have a nice breeze over here on set, so we're feeling good. This is what I was going to say earlier. We have some very colorful jackets on. And this is not by coincidence. No. We are channeling our inner Kim Mulkey right now. Where did you get this from? So what is this?
This is my, just so we know, my sorority is Sigma Gamma Rho Sorority Incorporated, and our colors are blue and gold. So when I saw this shimmery, shiny, blue and gold, like sequin jacket, I was like, Kim Mulkey would love this, and she wants me to buy this jacket.
Of course.
So of course,
that makes sense. Yeah. So I actually kind of thrifted this. I follow a woman on Instagram who goes thrifting in New York, and she you know, finds gems. And so I've had this for a minute, haven't had a reason to wear it until now because as you can see, Kim Mulkey, I mean, how did you feel about the feather look?
It gave me slash peacock slash, you know, kind of New Orleans kind of feel.
Okay.
Like I was getting a Great Gatsby kind of thing. You ever seen like those middle, when you have like a party and they've got like the feathers that are like coming out of the vase? Like that's kind of what it was giving me a little bit.
That makes sense,
Yeah, but you know, only Kim can pull that off.
Listen, I'm not gonna lie, I don't know if Kim can actually pull it off either. It was a lot for me. I did like the sequence look, but that was a lot.
It was I'm not gonna lie.
But I understand that you want to look at somebody else that might actually be pulling off her style.
Yes, as we talk about Kim Mulkey and her style, we cannot forget about Dawn Staley and her style, because sis be dressing. She's fresh. And so, first off, she's an Eagles fan, so when she brought out the authentic Randall Cunningham jersey, I was like, whoa. Then she paid homage to C. Vivian Stringer with the Cheney jersey, because Cheney was, you know, the only HBCU to get to a Final Four.
Right.
And then last year, I mean, she kind of set the precedent. She's just, with the 54 jacket, it was custom made. Like, you can't, like, there's style and then there's Dawn style.
Right. She's also been, you know, she elevates the style a little bit because she also wears like Louis, Gucci.
Yes.
You know.
Yes.
That means she got money.
She got money.
Anyway, so since we were on the subject of Kim Mulkey specifically, we know that she has a lot of personality. She's very boisterous, and she's not afraid to be so. So you got to hang out with some of her players so they can give some impersonations. Let's take a look really fast.
It's your girl Tarika, and I am outside of the LSU locker room here at the Final Four, and everyone has their own opinions about playing for Coach Kim Mulkey or how Coach Kim Mulkey is.
That wasn't a pretty game, but I'm not going to apologize. We jacked up some shots. We hadn't hit some shots. If I was watching this game, I'd turn it off. Look at that score, would you?
You know what we're going to do? We're going to ask the players their best impersonation of Coach Kim.
As of recently, because I've been fouling out, it's your fault, KP. It's your fault we're in this predicament. Now you sit. And I'm like, Coach, you know, we're going to win. We got this.
She just be like, play my country music. And then we got to listen to country music the whole time.
I'm the happiest girl in the whole USA.
All right, so this is me. Man, I can't hit a shot, Coach. I can't hit a shot. Well, shoot it anyway.
It'll be on the sideline when, like, if we don't get a foul call or nothing, she'll be like, she'll do that. It's no words. It's just,
Angel, if you don't jump, you can't jump over a piece of paper. Why are you not jumping on your rebounds and your layups?
Rebound. You better rebound. You better rebound.
when the South Carolina game, I didn't have my best game, so she told me in practice, and Angel, we lost that South Carolina game because you only have 4 rebounds. That's the issue right there. So I have 4 rebounds written in my locker. So I remember that every time I go up for a rebound, I gotta make sure I get more than 4.
I'm mad nobody actually sang like Mulkey in that, but we'll try to get them next time for that. All right, here's what's on tap. For tonight, immediately after us, we have the NCAA Women's Final Four special presented by Capital One on ESPN. That leads into the semifinal games on ESPN and ESPN Plus. LSU versus Virginia Tech at 7 p.m. Eastern, followed by Iowa versus South Carolina at 9 p.m. Eastern. You can also watch the alternate telecast of the Women's Final Four hosted by Sue Bird and Diana Taurasi over on ESPN2 and ESPN Plus. We saw Sue Bird earlier today. She's looking good. She's ready. We were listening to some jams in the makeup room. It was a grand old time. So obviously we're here at the Final Four, and there was a journey to get here. So we're going to take a quick look at how exactly these four teams got to where they are, and just look at the tournament as a whole. We start with that Stanford loss to Ole Miss. This is in the second round, where the big headline was that two #1 seeds failed to advance to the Sweet 16. That was the first time since 1998. So first it was Stanford to Ole Miss that took South Carolina to overtime, just a month ago.
Yep.
That snapped a streak of 14 straight Sweet 16 appearances for the Cardinal, the third longest in tournament history. What did you see in that matchup?
Well, I think what's interesting about that is that even coming into this tournament, how much conversation did we have about how we were unsure whether or not Stanford was going to be truly worthy, per se, of a 1 seed. Also, you think about how Ole Miss had continued to play with confidence. Their defense was super stupid in that game.
Yeah.
And they really took the Stanford Stars out of it. Even though Haley Jones had 21 points, Cameron Brink had a double-double, it just never felt like Ole Miss, it never felt like Stanford was ever really in control of that game. And so I think it was just a great moment and a great opportunity for Ole Miss, but at an unfortunate circumstance for Stanford.
For sure. I want you guys to all know something. I went to the University of Miami, and my nails are currently orange and green because our men's team is playing in the Final Four, but I do want to talk about this a little bit because Miami, the next night, shocked Indiana in a wild ending, and I feel like this was the one game literally nobody expected.
No.
I mean, I had them in this upset, of course, because I have Miami going to the championship in both of my brackets. However, nobody really expected this. What did you see out of the
Okay, to be fair, I had like 50 brackets, right? So, in none of them...
50.
50, right?
50.
In none of them did I have Miami defeating Indiana. So, I'm not afraid to say, kudos to you.
Shout out
to your belief. But no, I just think that if you have not really, embraced yourself in this Miami team, then I don't know what you're doing. This run was so historic. It was so great. First, they had to rally from 17 down to even beat Oklahoma to be in a position for Destiny Harden to just pull off the upset. And even moving forward, I know that they lost in the Elite 8 to LSU.
Right.
I just think that what Jasmine Robertson has done, 22 points in that game, just the way that they continue to play with a lot of confidence, the ACC better be worried.
Exactly. I love that because, never mind, I was going to say an inside joke. I'll wait for that a little bit later. Okay, let's go to the Sweet 16. In the Sweet 16, 2 games stood above the rest. Firstly, LSU beat Utah in a wild ending where Utah missed 2 free throws in the final seconds to take the lead and still had a chance to send the game to overtime. What did you see in this matchup?
You remember how everybody talked about LSU's schedule? You remember that? Everyone's talked about how soft
100%.
LSU's schedule was. I know I remember it because I was one of the ones that was talking about it. LSU, my bad. I disrespected y'all, and I apologize about that because this game showed that you really don't need a tough schedule in order to figure out how to play as a team. And I think that's what they did against Utah. Utah made a lot of miscues towards the end of that game, and LSU figured out because they had played together, because they learned each other, because they knew each other well enough to know how to capitalize on those mistakes, and that's why they're right here in the Final Four.
Yeah, I want to mention this about Kim Mulkey because I feel like we could have expected this when she went to LSU. She's a 10th coach to take multiple teams to the Elite 8. Obviously, we saw what she did at Baylor, and this is LSU's first Elite 8 appearance since 2008. So she's doing exactly what we expected them to do. But when we saw them lose to South Carolina earlier in the season, that is the reason we were like, this is not an LSU team that can end up in the Final Four. But here they are. All right, this was arguably the biggest story in the tournament so far. It's the downfall of UConn, who lost to Ohio State the following night. It snapped their streak of 14 straight Final Fours for UConn, the longest ever. What did you see in this UConn-Ohio State matchup?
So I'm actually going to give some love to Ohio State, more so than the fact that it's UConn's downfall, because Cody McMahon played amazing. 23 points for the Buckeyes. She really forced UConn to play uncharacteristically, and that was huge for them. They also dominated with that full court press. I mean, they took the Huskies completely out of their game offensively. And yeah, we can talk about, Paige not being there.
Right.
We can certainly talk about AZ coming back and not really having a lot of time to, get back to form per se. But ultimately, I really think this was Ohio State's game to win, and they did that.
What do you expect? Because as you mentioned, Paige is coming back. AZ will hopefully be at 100% next year. What do you expect from UConn next season as they have their players back that they expected to have this season?
Yeah, they're also going to have Ice Brady back too.
Right.
So this is, I think that there comes a time where we have to understand that the landscape of women's college basketball is changing. People aren't necessarily just going to the one or two schools that have been historically powerful. They're now adapting and finding ways to win and wanting to play at other institutions. And that's going to give UConn an opportunity to really have to show not only is their recruiting going to be on point, but they're going to have to learn how to play in an environment where they're not the top dogs anymore.
Yeah,
you know what I mean? They're going to have to learn how to play and understand there are other teams out there that are going to be just as strong, that are going to be offensively powerful.
Right.
And so I'm excited to see what they do and how they regroup.
All right, so earlier I said I was going to say an inside joke, and the inside joke was we had a show earlier with Sam Ravitch, and he just said, I love Virginia Tech. I can say that right now because we're going to talk about them. In the Elite Eight, we saw Georgia Amore and Liz Kitley lead Virginia Tech to its first ever Final Four appearance in a dominant win over Ohio State. Liz Kitley had a team-high 25 points in the win. Georgia Amore had 6 straight games with 20 or more points. They've been absolutely balling for this Virginia Tech team. What have you seen out of them? Why do you love them?
So here's the thing, right? Virginia Tech is like that team that no one really paid attention to for real until it was too late. Like when you decided you wanted to really scout this team and really figure out what made this team go, it was too late. They were already dominating, right? And so I love that, Virginia Tech was a 7 seed a couple of years ago. They were a 5 seed last year, and now they're a 1 seed, and I think it plays to the part that Kenny Brooks is just continually, steadily building a contender out of this team. Georgia Amore is going to shoot the lights out of the gym, period. Liz Kitley is going to rebound your lights out, period. And that's what's going to continue to push this team. I think it's going to be so interesting to see how they play tonight against LSU. And I'm going to see if they're going to continue to be that team no one's talking about, sliding under the radar and come away with a win. Who knows? But Sam, you called it.
Sam had them in his Final Four. Wait, didn't he have another team in his Final Four too? And we had to call him out.
Sam had like 3 teams. First he said that UConn.
He said UConn because he's a UConn guy. Right.
And then literally last minute said, I love Virginia Tech.
It was the greatest moment in our entire show. Okay, let's go over to Caitlin Clark, who we already know is an absolute bucket, and she is the star of the tournament. She had the first 40-point triple-double in NCAA tournament history. That's men's or women's to lead Iowa to its first Final Four since 1993. And I mean, we've talked a lot about Caitlin Clark. We obviously know she's an absolute bucket. But what did you see in this matchup specifically that she did well?
I love that she kept her team extremely motivated, no matter what the score was, no matter how big of a moment it felt for, Iowa, and that they didn't want to be in the same position that they were last year, where they were so very close and just didn't quite close the deal. She kept her team motivated, and that's something that I've learned over the course of this last, year about Caitlin Clark, is that she not only motivates herself, but she motivates her team, and I love that.
Yeah, I got to talk to her earlier this week, and I asked her about her range. Because I was like, sister, how does it keep getting further and further? Because her average three-pointer is actually 4 points behind the three-point line.
Crazy.
How? But she's an absolute bucket, and it's been great to watch her play. Iowa, by the way, leads the nation in scoring with 87.6 points per game. Okay, they're going to have to play a really tough team. It's going to be a little rough for them. We've been talking about this matchup for a long time. Even going into the tournament, we were like, oh, Iowa, look. Oh, they have South Carolina. We haven't even talked about South Carolina, who have blitzed through this tournament with a 15-point average margin on victory. Most people have them as their champion. Why?
It's because what can you really do to stop them? Like, that's the real question. We got an opportunity in this Maryland game to see a one-on-one matchup with Aliyah Boston, and how did that fare? You cannot match up one-on-one
Yeah,
with Aliyah
rough.
Boston. It's one of the reasons why she's continually doubled and tripled, because she is going to dominate the inside post. And this team is a team that thrives on defense. We're really going to see tonight when we hear the old adage that defense wins championships.
Right.
Well, we're going to find out, because that's what South Carolina thrives on, and they've done it so well. Then you get Zaya Cook, that's cooking. And when Sis is cooking, there's nothing what you can do but pull up a plate and grab a fork, because it's over. It's a wrap. So that is why I think so many people are just like, the only ones who can beat y'all are y'all.
Wait, I love the T-isms. I've never heard this. I'm going to call that a T-ism.
Hello.
Because Perk has his Perkisms.
Yeah.
I'm always like, where did you just pull that out of? But I loved that. What was it? Pull up a plate.
Just pull up a plate and a fork. She's cooking, man.
Okay, I love that. Okay, so as we mentioned, obviously Caitlin Clark, an absolute bucket. She's also very fiery. So you got to hang out with her teammates and asked them to impersonate her. Take a look at this.
We love to see a good clapback, right? And no one does that better than Caitlin Clark. I mean, just a couple of days ago in her game against Louisville, she basically told Haley Van Lith, you're down 15 points. Shut up. We're going to go talk to some of her teammates to see what are some of their best Caitlin clapbacks or best motivations. Let's find out.
The last game when she was like, you can't see me. That really got everyone fired up.
When she gets an and one, she'll like go like this and come to the bench and she'll be like, let's go.
That's pretty fun.
She gets pretty fiery in our timeouts. You know, she might even clap back at us because she wants us to play with that same fire, you know, and sometimes we're pretty even keeled, some of us, but she's like, let's go, come on, dive on the floor, whatever it may be.
She always will just come to me like after a timeout, before I'm at like a tough stretch, we think, and she'll just like give me a little bit of extra reassurance. Honestly, I think the last Elite Eight game, I loved when she did the John Cena thing. I think that was so cool.
One time, I don't even remember which game it was, but she came over to the bench, and I think she had just made a shot or something. She came over to the bench and she just stood right in front of us and was just clapping at us, and we all like, there was just a picture of us surrounding her.
Honestly, she's done it a lot, but in the Louisville game when I was 0 for 4, she like grabbed me and was like, you better keep shooting, like keep your head up, like, and I think just having seeing the confidence that she has in me, it makes me want to like, I don't have time to like feel sorry for myself.
I love when she just hypes up the crowd and then everyone just goes wild. It's awesome every time.
It's time now for Square Up, presented by Wendy's. We're going to look at a battle of two titans in this matchup. Obviously, we've been talking about them all season, Caitlin Clark and Aliyah Boston. But Andraya Carter is here joining us now. And Dre, we just saw some players, some Iowa players, impersonate Caitlin Clark.
Okay.
So I would like you to also do your best Caitlin Clark impersonation.
That's what she does.
That's the one.
That's the one.
That's the one. That's the one. That's the one. It's a lot of Iowa fans out here too. I don't know.
Yeah,
There you go.
I'm not Caitlin, so it doesn't have the same effect. It doesn't have the same effect. It's okay.
Let's start with her because she just won Naismith Player of the Year and AP Player of the Year award. She's absolutely taken over this college basketball season. What about her game is so special?
It has to be her confidence, right? Like the way that Caitlin Clark plays, it's almost like she doesn't see the first line of defense. Like if there is one defender on her, she is blind to whoever that is. She gets her shot off. She's got a quick trigger. She can create space. But the thing about Caitlin that makes her even more special this year than she ever has been, she talked to us and she said that she doesn't feel like she has to score early to be effective. She said she used to force a lot of things. She doesn't force anything right now. Now it's just whatever the defense takes her and whatever the defense gives her, but they don't have to give her very much because just 2 inches of space is enough to get her shot off. It's been really impressive how she's been able to be effective. She's stronger this season. She's a better defender this season. She gets to the rim better this season, but she's also still hitting those logo threes. She's a more complete player in my opinion.
Love that.
Yeah, and you know, the interesting thing about it is that she is so efficient and so much behind the basic power of the Iowa offense. She has either scored or assisted on 62% of their offense. And so when you are going up against the nation's biggest and baddest defense, you know, what do you think Caitlin needs to do in order to maintain that efficiency to get around the Gamecocks?
Well, it's going to take a lot of effort, right? Because I think that South Carolina, like Iowa's not going to see anything really different in terms of scheme, right? Like they've faced so many different defenses this season. Caitlin Clark has seen so many different defenses this season. The difference is personnel.
Yeah.
They haven't seen this type of personnel. No one has seen this type of personnel until they play South Carolina in terms of length and athleticism and mobility and their ability to get out and make threes, contested threes, even at a really deep range. So I think her maintaining her confidence, which she's an extremely confident player, letting it fly, not worrying about misses, and just taking whatever she can at any opportunity that she can. Because you have to think, South Carolina is going to get so many second chance points. They're going to get more opportunities shooting. For Caitlin Clark, she needs to take as many opportunities as she can to get that shot up.
I do want to ask you, because earlier in the season, and I'm not trying to blow up your mentions, T, but earlier in the season, we did have a conversation about Caitlin Clark, and we were trying to figure out what her weakness was.
Yeah.
And T mentioned the fact that in the third quarter, she's not performing as she is in the other 3 quarters of the matchup. What do you think her weaknesses are? Does she have any?
Oh, what her weaknesses are? I think, honestly, if I were defending Caitlin Clark, what I would try to make her do is shoot mid-range pull-up jump shots, right? So I would try to run her off the line, but have athleticism enough, which you have to have, because you got to think she's 6 foot.
Yeah.
So she's got more length than you think to create some separation on the dribble. So you got to close out long. Then you've got to follow her and make her shoot mid-range pull-up jump shots, not mid-range threes, not floaters, and not layups. See, like, that's a floater. That's a layup. That's too easy for Caitlin Clark. She can knock those down.
Yeah.
I think the shot that I have seen her take the least, it's so hard saying that it's a weakness because she is such an incredible player, right? She's AP Player of the Year for a reason. But when you're talking about what she does the least, like that's at the rim.
Yeah.
What she does the least is her mid-range game. So you got to try and cut her off enough to make her put 2 feet on the ground and shoot a mid-range pull-up jump shot. And I think that would be what I would try to make her do as much as possible if you can.
Okay, that makes sense.
Yeah.
Thanks.
Oh, well, just to switch over really quick to South Carolina.
Yeah.
I feel like Aliyah Boston has kind of been overshadowed a little bit, even though she's the reigning Wendy's Wooden Award winner.
Right.
I think that when you talk about her double-doubles and just how she's been playing this tournament, it hasn't been exceptional in terms of stats. However, what do you think she's doing exceptionally well with in this tournament?
If she's been not talked about enough, it's because people don't recognize the decision making. Like, I haven't seen Aliyah Boston make the wrong decision yet. Whether it's out of the double team, whether it's out of the triple team, whether it's out of single coverage, I've seen Aliyah Boston, like you see how even there, she cuts her eyes to see where the defense is and see how they're guarding her, and then she makes a decision, even on this play. That's just patience, that's just poise. Let me take what the defense gives me, similar to Caitlin Clark, but at times she has to pass it out. And a lot of times she'll make one pass and it's a hockey assist that leads to the next pass that's that wide open shot, right? She sees one play ahead, but because she's a post player, doesn't always show up in stats, because sometimes it takes one more pass to get the shot that South Carolina needs. But I think in terms of Aliyah Boston, her leadership can't be quantified. Like, that's not something that shows up on paper. That is just something that her coaches and her teammates feel. And then her decision making is huge. And then her defense has been so impressive. I mean, not only blocking shots, but just contesting shots and making you think twice before you go in the paint and you try to score. That makes a huge difference.
Yeah, she has got 2 blocks in each of the 4 NCAA tournament games. What are they going to have to do to try to slow Aliyah Boston down? Because they can't stop her, but what are they going to have to do in order to slow her down?
I think you have to pick your poison, and what's really going to hurt Iowa is if South Carolina's guards are hitting shots. Because at some point you're going to see they're probably going to send a double team off of Bree Beal. They might send a double team off of Kiera Fletcher. Like, they're going to pick who they're going to send the double team on, and you just have to hope that South Carolina guards aren't hitting shots. Now, the issue is when South Carolina guards start hitting shots, then you don't really have an answer, right? But what you don't want to do is give Aliyah Boston efficient looks inside of the paint. So first things first, you want to push her out on the block so she's not setting up extremely early and deep into the lane. But then you might have to send a double team. You might have to send a triple team. Who is it coming from? Where is it coming from? And if you're able to do that effectively, the hardest part is getting back out to contest the shot. You just got to pick your poison with this team.
All right, Dre, you've been covering women's college basketball all season. Obviously, there's been some amazing moments in this tournament specifically. We talked about how each team got here. What has been the highlight for you as you look back at the tournament?
Oh, man, at the tournament. Let me think here.
Doesn't it feel like a year ago?
It's just so much, right? It's crazy. I was honestly really impressed with Virginia Tech. I mean, this is a team that I've talked about early in the season at being just a complete basketball team, and watching them dismantle Ohio State's press that Ohio State has caused so much havoc. I almost said HE double hockey sticks. I don't know if I'm allowed to say that on TV. They have just made people so frustrated and flustered. Watching Virginia Tech be efficient to get their first Final Four appearance, watching Georgia Amore, it's been amazing.
Okay, well, Dre, we've loved to watch you.
Thanks.
She's an absolute star, and she's so good every time she's here with us and on TV.
Thanks.
We love you.
The makeup artist. I love you too.
I feel so much smarter when I
it's
said
natural beauty. Okay, so you're watching. Thanks, Dre. All right, so it has been 24 years since Carolyn Peck became the first African-American woman to win the NCAA title as a head coach of Purdue. We're going to talk to her very shortly. Fans out trying to, I guess, channel their inner Caitlin Clark.
Yeah.
Out here on the party in the plaza. I personally, now I'm going to hype myself up a little bit. I never played in a Final Four. I never played basketball in college. However, my dad did say that I would have been better at basketball than I was at volleyball, and I played in college. So I feel like I could be at least that woman right now.
I mean, yeah, if they were going to shoot like Caitlin, though, they would need to be like 5 streets over.
Yeah. All right, we now welcome in one Carolyn Peck, who I just mentioned, became the first African-American coach to win NCAA title. Hello, Coach.
Hi.
So happy to have you. It's been forever. I feel like I haven't seen you in so long. We got to hang out a little bit earlier.
Yes.
Love having you here. Okay, so this is just... First of all, this is a huge year for black women, for black coaches in general. It's the second year.
Don't live out Kenny Brooks now.
Exactly. That's why I said black coaches in general. It's the second year that 2 black head coaches are in the Final Four, Kenny Brooks and Dawn Staley. How special is this moment for not only the tournament as a whole, but also for black coaches in general?
Let me tell you what makes it special is it's becoming the norm, so that it's going to get to a point to where we don't have to designate and point out that we've got 4 black coaches in the Sweet 16, or we have 2 in the Final Four.
Yep.
We just have great coaches that are there, because now it's not really unexpected or special just that we have black coaches there. Now it's just expected because the opportunities have presented itself. When you look at Kenny Brooks and what he did at James Madison, I know that when I was watching him, my husband and I would talk about all the time, and my husband would go, why does that man not have a Power 5 job?
Yeah.
What did he do? What did he have to take? He had to take a Power 5 job that he had to really dig from the bottom, and now he's here. And so it's really pat on the back to him. Dawn Staley did the same thing at South Carolina. That was a program that had never been to a Final Four, and now Kenny Brooks has done that for Virginia Tech.
Yeah, for sure.
Yeah, and I think when you also talk about milestones, and, you know, this is the first year since 1985 that we don't have any of those powerhouse blue blood teams. There is no Stanford this year. There is no UConn. There is no Tennessee. You know, missing the Elite Eight. You're like, what is happening here? I think, you know, it's not an indictment on those particular teams, but do you think that that just speaks to the parity that has happened here in women's basketball?
I think it's spoken to parity. I also think that it has spoken to the transfer portal. I think that definitely has helped, right? And so now players can move around and find programs that fit them, find programs of coaches that are on the rise that can put them in a position to have this kind of success. I mean, you look at what LSU has now, Kim Mulkey getting a transfer like Angel Reese, for Taylor Soule to go to Virginia Tech, Kiera Fletcher to be the point guard at South Carolina. I think that transfer portal definitely helps the parity of women's basketball.
Yeah.
It's so interesting because we talk about there not being any blue bloods, right, in the Final Four out. And when you think about what it means to be a blue blood, right? I actually Googled this earlier because I needed to make sure that we're talking about it correctly. And I was like, what does it take to be a blue blood? Because we're talking about it across sports in general, right?
Right.
And it said that it takes domination over decades, right? Like you're used to seeing this team in the Final Four. You're seeing this team winning championships. South Carolina, obviously, they've been doing this for a minute. It's been about 6 years, right? Do you think that they have what it takes to eventually become a blue blood?
I think if you ask Dawn Staley, she's okay with her blood being red. It doesn't have to be blue. And I think that what Dawn has done is build the program and do it the right way. She didn't go about it getting quick fixes. First, she really started to sign the talent that was in the state of South Carolina, right? Then she proved that she could win, and it was built on defense. Then once she showed that she could stop you, then she had to bring in players that could score. Then you get a superstar like Asia Wilson that's right there in your backyard, right? And then you bring in you attract a player like Aliyah Boston. So we just continued to build so that she was able to sustain. She's got a top recruiting class coming in next year.
Yeah.
Yes, this number one recruiting class that are seniors now are going to move on, and they're all going to play at the next level. And then she's got a new crop coming in. It's just reload. And keep going, keep staying and sustaining, and that's what they've done.
It's really interesting when we talk about women's college basketball, because we saw this with UConn, right? Where at a point we were like, okay, we get it, y'all are good for a very long time. Do we think that's going to happen with South Carolina? Because you talk about their recruiting class, how they're just going to reload. Does that make women's college basketball better? Like, how does that affect the entirety of women's college basketball in general?
Like, as long as it's good basketball, I don't care if it's always at one program or it's spread across the board. But what we're seeing in women's basketball with the parity and the talent going all over. You got Juju Watkins is going to USC next year out in California.
Yeah.
So you've got Kiki Rice that's at UCLA.
Yeah.
It's going to be harder to be one program that sustains and dominates start to finish.
Yeah.
And I think that's what's exciting about women's basketball.
So I asked Drea this, and I want to ask you this, because we've seen, it feels like a year ago that we found out the 64 teams that were going to go to the tournament. What has been the best part for you? Because we've gotten so many great moments. It's been amazing to watch. What has been the best part for you, the part that stands out?
That it's been you cannot predict really what's going to happen. Yeah. Even though you have South Carolina that's on track to be undefeated right now, Iowa could, get hot from the three-point line. The unpredictability this year, the upsets that have happened, you got two number ones that got upset before they could get to here. Those kind of moments, and having been to the Final Four and coached here, for the first time, programs that are getting here. Virginia Tech, I'm so excited for the Hokies because I know what it was like for my first time as a coach. Purdue had been there before, but the group of women that I was coaching had not. And for them to get to experience this is so exciting.
Yeah, awesome. Love that. Okay, so before we go, we're going to take a look at a few things that we didn't get a chance to talk about. Now, obviously, Angel Reese is absolutely dominating. She has been the entire season. In this tournament, she's averaging 22.5 points per game, 17.3 rebounds per game, and 3.8 blocks per game. Now, this is perfect time to bring up a tweet. T, do you want to tee this up? Because I know this was a moment for you, because we were cracking up laughing about this.
We were. So there was a tweet that came up where Angel Reese, who shares the same name as her mom, Angel Reese.
Yes.
Apparently, there were people who were in Angel Reese's DM and didn't realize it was not the Bayou Barbie. It was her mom. And so I saw this tweet where it's like, FYI, I'm Angel Reese's mom, not LSU women's basketball player. Please be mindful when you tag or send me DMs that your intent is to me and not to my daughter. I'm getting some crazy dating requests from men kids age who clearly, by the content of the message, think they're sending it to little A. So, Carolyn, have you had people slide into your DMs?
Oh, no. Oh, no.
You look amazing, too. And I mean, listen, I'm just asking, have you had some DM issues where...
There are no issues because I am very happily married. So it's all good. Yes, my husband put a ring on it. Yes.
Oh, my God. Your DMs are about to be toast right now.
I love that. Thank you so much, CP, for joining us. Obviously, you can watch CP for the entirety of the rest of the Final Four, and we're looking forward to that. And thank you guys for watching Countdown to the Semifinal, presented by Wendy's. Tune in to the NCAA Women's Final Four special on ESPN right now, and then the Final Four immediately after that. We will see you guys at the championship.